And we are rolling on part 2 of okay, good. All right, tell Sydney about your morning, and I'm going to tap when it's 5 seconds. If you blink, I start the time over. So there's no blinking when you make eye contact. No, you can't blink, she can't blink. You can't blink especially, okay? So no blinking. Ready? Okay, begin.
So, my morning was pretty boring, not gonna lie. I just kind of, woke up, got ready for class, studied a little bit. I had to do some reading that I didn't do yesterday, that I probably should have done yesterday. But, I got busy last night, just kind of hanging out with my roommate. So, that's really all I did this morning.
Right here, right here.
Oh, right here?
Right here.
All right.
Right here. Where I'm pointing.
I'm looking. I'm looking. And then I just really just kind of walked over here, hung out outside, gave my speech. That's
okay,
it.
Did you feel the difference between making the eye contact? Good. Now the other thing I want to sensitize you to, Nolan, is I want you to walk more purposefully. So walk on, it's good to walk on your natural divisions of your speech. So you could go a couple steps over this way for the good, 5 steps over that way for the bad, and then back to center for the ugly in your finale. You want to end up back in the power center of the room. Other than that, good job. Thank you. Okay, do we have another volunteer?
Oh, the time is.
What was the time?
It's okay.
Okay.
Why could you just not go and have
Can you'll time?
Yeah.
Good.
the time?
Another Apple telephone comes to the
Should I leave the door
floor.
open? Okay.
Yes, we want air.
Okay.
By the way, Kyler, right, is your name?
Yeah.
Kyler, when you're the speaker,
Yeah.
think of yourself as the king of the environment. If there's a chair or there's something that's bothering you, can do whatever you want. If the podium is askew, you can do it. But I'm glad you asked me about the door because I don't want to get suffocated in here. But under normal conditions, unless it's going to really fry the audience, you could close the door. But anyway, now I want you to relax your hands. Okay. Power stance, feet a little wider than your shoulders. Communicating respect non-verbally as you look around. Say to yourself, I respect my audience. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi guys, I'm Kyler.
Hi, Kyler.
So we all heard Professor Miller talk to us in the beginning of class to go around to everyone and say, I respect you. Now, I don't know how many of you thought this, but I was seriously considering dropping the class. I thought, who is this crazy guy telling me I have to go around to everyone, say I respect you to random people? So I put my headphones on, like he told us not to do. I went outside class and I started walking back to my dorm. And I was maybe halfway back to my dorm, and I thought, you know what, why don't I just try, take my headphones off, see if I can find someone and talk to them. And I did. And it was hard because people don't really like making eye contact, but I did. I said I respected you to a bunch of people, and it turned out fine. I mean, fine is a relative term, but I'm going to tell you guys about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then kind of what I learned from the experience. So after doing this experiment around 10,000 times, to put air quotes, there were a lot of positive experiences, there were a lot of bad experiences, but mostly positive. I got a lot of smiles, I got a lot of nods, I got a lot of people kind of waving who I didn't even know. But I think the most kind of strange positive experience was with one of my roommates who I was a suite mate with last year. He's my roommate this year. Usually when you find a friend, you usually say hi, you nod, you handshake. But I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to say anything to him. I'm just going to try and convey nonverbal respect. I did. Surprisingly, he changed pace. He turned around and he came up to me and he started talking to me about his day, which kind of made me feel, you know what, he actually feels the respect, actually did something pretty well. So that's my positive experience. Now, when we think of bad, can I get a show of hands? Who knows what stink eye is? Yeah, so that's super common term, and that's basically what my bad experiences consisted of. So I was waiting in the hall for one of my classes, and I was just looking around the hall, trying to convey respect. I made eye contact with a guy in the hall, and he just stared right back at me. He just glared at me, and I was like, why do I keep doing this? Why am I in this class? What am I doing? But you know, I came to realize the next day it was probably because I stared at him for too long, and it was more my bad. So, and then when we talk about the ugly, unfortunately there is an ugly story. I was in Long Beach this past weekend with my cousins, and I was in a mall. I was waiting for them to do some shopping, and I was looking around the mall, and I saw this guy I made eye contact with. He actually got up out of his chair, and at this point I was considering everything Professor Miller was saying about not getting killed, and I was in the whole killing range. But he came over, he actually verbalized, "What are you doing?" And I was completely terrified. But I told him, you know, I'm doing an assignment for comm, and this is what I have to do, and he laughed it off and he shrugged it off. So everything ended up well. So I've learned a lot of things with this experience, but I think the most important thing is that when you convey nonverbal respect, not only is it easier for you to have a good communication with your audience, it's also easier to create and develop relationships with people you know already, or maybe people you don't even know. And I think although I was initially hesitant with Professor Miller, I think ultimately you're not truly able to talk to your audience to convey a message if you don't convey nonverbal respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Thank you, Kyler. We're in this first row. We're going up and down the rows. That would be your turn, sir, to say what you like. Starting with your name.
My name is Adonis.
Hi, Adonis.
And I think his speech was very good. I like how you actually spoke about your experience just yesterday or whenever it was the class. I think that you did everything really well. Pretty confined. The only thing I think I would think of improving would be just walking a little bit more with the good and the bad. And other than that, I think you did well.
Thank you, Adonis. Improvement.
Roberto. Improvement. I think you did everything very well, especially your hand movements. Like I said, maybe just like walking around more with your hand movements, but other than that, like, I think it was a pretty good speech.
Good, thank you. On your movement, we'll talk about that first since people seem to notice it. You, what you were just doing with your fingers is called steepling. And you don't want to do this because it denotes you feel superiority to your audience or the people searching.
Sorry, audience.
And so we don't ever want to steeple. Do you see this or this? When you walk into a boss and ask for a raise, they'll go like this or this. You know you're in trouble, or they'll put their arms up like this. So we never want to steeple to people we're talking to. But start learning to read the nonverbal. As I've told some of you, I work as a trial consultant where I'm hired by lawyers to read the nonverbal of juries and give lawyers feedback on how they're doing non-verbally. So it's a skill that I would encourage all of you to develop and to learn to read more of the nonverbal, because people can't conceal the nonverbal the way they can carefully choose their words. You take your hands out of your pocket. Kyler, I like your honest opening. It was good.
No offense.
No offense taken. I understand that it does sound a little crazy in the beginning, but people, if you watch the tapes and you talk to my students over the years, students that we've won 7 national championships in debate, they will tell you they have used this, you know, magnificently to persuade audiences to establish a great connection with people, and it really does work, and it's a desirable skill to have. It's just, you know, whatever you're going to do in life. So I'm glad you took off and you had a good thesis preview, just a little bit more oomph with your voice, you know, of the good, the bad, the ugly. On the good, I liked your general, and then you talked about your friend James, and that he sensed that you were being genuine, and he really opened up to you, and that was a really excellent thing. On the bad, yes, I think your diagnosis of the problem was correct. It's to look at a person 1 second, I respect you, and look away. It's not to glare or to, you know, stalk a person, because that will freak them out. And the ugly, I don't know how long you looked at the fella at the food court or wherever it was, but you know, there are people that feel that a long look is you know, you want to fight, or, you know, and it's tricky. You then went into a good transition to what you learned, and you had a nice summary conclusion. Kyler, I liked it very much. One thing I want you to notice is you play with your ring a lot. So if you
take it off.
I'm not a big ring person, but if it has some sentimental value, then I would learn not to play with it. Either that, other than that, I'd probably take it off. Because you know, you're spinning it and playing with it is just a little strange, but it's a distraction. But overall, you did the assignment well, and you did a good job. Thank you so much. Okay, do we have another volunteer? No volunteers. Great, thank you. Let's hear it for the volunteer. Yeah, thank you. Good, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, ooh, you're a different...
Am I too tall?
No, you're not too tall. You're perfect. But you are... oh, okay, yeah. So one step that way, please. Yeah. Laura stands before us, managing attention. Does everyone have their computers closed, their cell phones away? Yes, no texting. Eyeballs upon you. Yes. Communicating respect non-verbally, saying to yourself, I respect my audience. As you look around, finding friendly eyes near the front and the center, say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Hi, I'm Laura.
Hi, Laura.
It was like looking into a mirror. I sat up a little straighter in my seat, and she did the same. Can I start over? Sorry.
Just keep going.
Okay. It was like looking into a mirror. I sat up a little bit straighter in my seat, and so did she. I turned my body completely towards her, and she did the same. I looked her directly into the eye, and she looked right back. Out of all the people that had unknowingly participated in my study this past few days, Alex, the girl in my research lab, was perhaps the most oblivious of them all. As you all know, we all conducted an experiment over the past few days in which we tried to non-verbally communicate our respect to others. And I did so through the use of body language, such as physical attentiveness, direct eye contact, and also just actively listening to other people. And in this speech, I'm going to talk to you about the neutral results, the negative results, and the positive results. The neutral result was that the overwhelming majority of people didn't notice or care that I had given them a little bit of extra attention that day. For example, my friend in my biochemistry class, Dylan, I talked to him when I first saw him, and I paid a little bit of extra attention to him. I actively listened to what he was saying and responded appropriately to what he was saying, while trying not to ruffle into my backpack or go on my phone or anything. And he didn't really notice, but that was a typical response of most of the people that I'd interacted with over the first few days. The positive result, one of the negative results actually that I got, was that, like Kyler, I had a little uncomfortable situation with someone, and I think it was mostly because of the context that it was in that I was in the restroom line waiting to go into one of the stalls, and one of the girls came out, and I probably looked at her a little too long, like she did, and she just gave me a weird look. So that was the extent of the negative results of that experiment. And then the positive results that I saw were that, like Alex in my research lab, a few people actually responded back to my respect, through the use of their own body language. They kind of sort of imitated me and did the same impressions that I did, as in they gave me the same respect that I gave them. And that was one of the positives. So overall, I learned that most people really are unaware of if they're given a bit of extra attention. Maybe that's because they naturally expect that attention from other people and they didn't really notice if they were given it. Or I'd like to think that maybe it was because I usually give that level of respect to others and they just didn't really realize that I gave them a little bit extra that day. But in any case, I think that the people that unconsciously responded back to my respect were the most impactful to me of all, because it shows that some people do actually pay attention whether they realize it or not.
Thank you. Okay, I guess we're here. Yes, please. What did you like?
I'm Tina.
Hi, Tina.
I thought your speaking was very comfortable to watch and your movements were very nice. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Tina. And improvement?
I'm Leo.
Hi, Leo.
I think it was pretty good too. I just think that you could maybe slow down a bit the delivery of your speech, and then it could sound a bit more spontaneous.
Okay.
So that's it.
Laura, Leo's an international student. English is not his first language. There are many international students in the school and in the class. You do speak quickly. And we want to work on a style of delivery that is emphatic. Do we go slow? Sometimes we go fast, fine. But we want to vary it so we're interesting to listen to, see? So I would shoot for that. And as far as being spontaneous, we're looking to be extemporaneous. And you did seem pretty spontaneous to me. Just, you were very quick. And quick for somebody trying to grok or understand your words and your meaning. Try not to, you only get one chance to make a good first impression. I'm sure you've heard the cliche. So really work on your opening so that it's great. And you don't say, can I start over again, Nix? Just fake it and go on. You called attention to your stubbing your toe by saying, "Can I start over?" So lose that from your vocabulary. I like that you used an example from your experiment, and then you transitioned into, you didn't use good, bad, and ugly, but neutral, negative, and positive. So I like the synonym worked nicely. And I like the fact that you used the same order of your preview in your main body. I disagree a little bit with Tina in that I thought your movements were a little bit random. I thought you moved a little too early. I would have liked you to have moved more on the neutral, gone over to a place and just stood and stand and deliver, then walk 5 steps as you're walking and talking and talk about the negatives, plant your feet, stand and deliver, work this side of the audience, good eye contact with them, and then walk and talk and come back to the center for your positive, and you ended on the positive. I'd like to see you work this, continue to try this outside of the school situation and business, and then, I don't know if you go to these places I mentioned, but how that would go there. And you did have, your narrative was good, so we could follow you, and you did talk about what you learned, and so that was clear. So overall you did a good job. Just work on the things that I've isolated. Thank you so much, Laura. Okay, thank you. That was easy. Do we have another volunteer? Yeah, here we go. She's ready to come up. Yeah, good. Thank you so much for volunteering. Let's hear it for the volunteer. Yeah, good. Thank you. All right, Brianna stands before you in the power stance. Perfect. Managing attention, making sure everyone's looking up, that computers are closed, phones are away, no one's texting, all eyeballs are upon you. Finding friendly eyes in the center, get in the power stance and try not to sway. Okay. Say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Hi, my name is Brianna.
Hi, Brianna.
So, show respect, even to those who don't deserve it. It is a reflection not of their character, but of yours. So, this quote by Dave Willis really emphasizes that we should be responsible for our own actions and not blame our behaviors on the actions of others. So, we have all been cultured into different environments, so we all have different beliefs, and we all show respect in different ways. So it's important that we acknowledge the different ways in which people demonstrate their respect. So I will be talking about how this respect, a construct that is relative to each individual, can have a good impact, a bad impact, and an ugly impact on different people. So my story is when, during this past week that I was doing this experiment, I barely moved in with my new roommates, and they're my friends, and so I decided, okay, I'm going to show respect to them. I'm going to show them that I care about them by cooking them some dinner. So I was like, hey, do you guys want some dinner? I cooked them all some dinner, and they were super grateful. They were telling me thank you so much. And then this week I had a long day. I come home and they're like, hey, we cooked you dinner, and I just felt the respect being reciprocated. So that felt really nice. So now I'm going to talk about a bad story. So I know every time someone disrespects me, I kind of feel a little minimized, and I feel like my self-esteem a little gets hurt because I want people to be nice. I like being nice to other people. So I was at the gym, doing my thing, getting my pre-workout was kicking in, and I I was waiting for a squat rack, and I was like just there. I was like, hi, asking this girl was like finishing her set or her rep, and I was like, hey, how many sets do you have? She's like, I barely started. I was like, that was my question. I was like, okay. Like, I just felt my smile just kind of like darken a little, and I just like kept on going. And I just asked someone else, and then they were really nice about it. So the way I felt disrespected in some ways because I was just being really polite, very nice. So I kind of felt a little hurt, but then I realized like everyone's different, and maybe she didn't know that she was being disrespectful. So I was like, okay, it's fine. Just continue on with my day. So my ugly experience was when I was in my physics class. It was the first day. I was kind of nervous, you know. I saw an empty seat and I started going towards it, and there's this guy that was all like, oh, someone's there, someone's sitting there. So I just like my cheeks just flushed red, and I'm like, okay, and I just like walk away, and I just, the ugly way in which like this disrespect that he showed me, I started like thinking kind of some mean thoughts. I was kind of mad, you know. So it's just like you could see how respect kind of has this ugly way of impacting an individual. So, but I just kind of brushed it off and just kind of went on my day. So what I learned from this experiment was that respect, everyone has a different definition of what it is to be respected and respectful. So it's just important that we acknowledge that everyone will act a certain way and kind of don't take it to the heart. It's like, try to be respectful because this is your behavior and it's the person that you are. So just because someone's being disrespectful doesn't mean that you have to be disrespectful back. So, yeah.
Thank you, staff, there for your feedback. Thank you very much, Brianna. Okay, stand the power stance. All right, we're somewhere over here. Yes, sir.
Hi.
Stand up, please. Say your name.
Hi, I'm Aaron.
Hi, Aaron.
So I thought your anecdotes were good, and you had a lot of good descriptions that helped paint the picture for the audience and really feel what you're talking about, as well as just hearing you. The thing that I would say that you could work on is, I saw you swaying a little bit, you're talking a little fast, you kind of got a little flustered sometimes, and that's normal. You have 4 minutes to talk, and it's like kind of a scary thing, so it's just something you could work on.
All right, thank you.
Good. Those were good comments. Okay, thank you. Improvement?
Hi, I'm Sydney.
Hi, Sydney. Another Sydney.
Yes. I did notice in the beginning you said a lot. You started with but I saw it improve as the speech went on. So that's good. And you have a really well projected voice as well. So I thought that was cool.
All right, good. I'm glad you noticed that. There's uncross your arms. We're here to give you positive feedback so you can grow and improve, so you don't have to be worried. These are acts of love that people are giving you this kind of feedback. Brianna, who is Dave Willis?
It's just an author. I was like, Google respect quotes and found him.
It's helpful to give your quote credibility to say an author of best-selling text, of self-help text, of New York Times best-selling author. Build up your quote so it has even more credibility. But I love the fact that you had a quote to start out your speech, and I also love, even though you didn't go to it, I love that you understood that I wanted to tie back and that you went back to Dave Willis in the end in your printed version of the speech, but you didn't say it. But we all want to try to come the full circle, folks, and if we start with Dave Willis, let's come back and quote him again and make the full circle so the audience knows we're concluding. You made reference, and I thought you were going to go another way in this speech, but you didn't. You made reference to cultural differences in the way people give and understand and accept respect, and it's an interesting thought. I didn't see it particularly come to bear in your presentation, but I think it's a good thought. So you did have a good thesis preview. You told us what was coming, just a bit more oomph with your voice, the good, the bad, the ugly. And then when you go, so let's go first to the good, and stress that with your voice. I thought that was an excellent thing to do, and I hope that it was an impulse that came from repeating the mantra, and the mantra will cause you to do respectful things, like kind things, like cook people dinner, like open doors, like help people out, like hold the elevator for people and things like that. So you didn't particularly specifically link it to saying the mantra, but that was a good example of respect, and I like the way the karma came back to you, to use an Indian phrase. On the bad, at the gym. The person that you spoke to, I interpreted that as just her being very defensive, that you were bugging her, that you were trying to get her to hurry up or something. And I wouldn't view that as a personal attack. But were you repeating the mantra as you said this, and were you saying, hey, how many more reps do you have? And were you thinking the mantra? And after she said, I just started, that's when you repeat the mantra even more. You go, hey, no problem. Enjoy your workout. But I don't believe it was intended as a slight to you. I just think she's like, quit bugging me. And there are people that, I've been through this at gyms where people say they have one left and they go on for hours, and it's very annoying. On the ugly, yes, the physics class, and is it a gentleman? Yes, the guy that said, this seat is taken. And this made you mad, and you had to look for another seat. This, again, I don't know if you were repeating the mantra, and if you did, that's when you need to repeat it again to yourself. And say, oh, no problem. So that you don't get mad, that you just, it's like water on a duck's back, because these things happen. And I don't believe that he may have meant it as disrespect. I don't want this woman to sit next to me. Or he may have truly been saving it for his buddy Bill. And I don't know if you monitored the situation, and did Buddy Bill show up or somebody show up for the empty seat? I don't know. But I just think, be careful about over-interpreting things as disrespect when they're just innocent things that you can let go and repeat the mantra and not let it bug you. What I learned was well said and excellent and well done. Again, you didn't tie back to Dave Willis, but you did in a written form, and I love the fact, I end on a positive note, I love the fact that you used it. On the excessive use of ums, which disappeared as you got into your speech, this and like are the two most common fillers that I see in class that I have to encourage people to work with. And if you have a person that you can practice with, not just a mirror but a live person, and you ask them to raise their hand every time you say like or then you will become more sensitized, because it's almost unconscious to some people. Some people say like 70 times in a speech, and they're not even aware of it until I don't say like. Okay, go watch YouTube and then come and talk to me. really unconscious. But overall, you did a very nice job, Brianna. You're a very likable speaker. And just remember to continue practicing, repeating the mantra. And I think you got the outline down. You did the prompt perfectly. So thank you. Thank you for waiting respectfully outside. Hi.
Hey, so I didn't know which one you wanted. Just kind of like
Yeah, I wanted the outline, but I'll take both. Thank you. Okay, just a reminder, try not to in the future wear white to class because you blend with my white screen.
Yeah, I can put on a jacket if you want.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah, now we're whistling Dixie. Okay, very nice. Oh yeah. Excellent contrast. Yes. Getting your space. Huh? Okay, good. Okay. All right, Aaron, relax your hands. Don't hold your thumb like that. Just let them be easy and cool. You're in the power stance nightly. Nice. Feet are wider than your shoulders. Find friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say to yourself, I respect my audience. I really mean it. Find friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name. Feel a love. Start your speech.
Hey guys, my name is Aaron.
Hi, Aaron.
So today I'm going to be talking to you about the experiment that we all ran over the past few days and how that sort of affected me, the interactions that I had, and a lot of those are going to have similar flavor to the last speech we just heard, and I'm going to try to frame them around a gym environment. That's just where I have the most interactions with people. So to start things off, I want to talk about a negative experience, and I want to preface it by saying it's not anybody's fault, because I realized after doing this experiment that a lot of people have different understandings of respect. Some people just might not know or be aware that they're disrespecting you. And so to give a more concrete understanding of what I'm talking about, I was over here on a bench press. Some guy comes in, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and he says, hey, can I use the bench press when you're done? Understandable. They're kind of a hot commodity at the gym. If you've ever been there, it's not really enough to go around. And so the way things are done at Wooden is when the benches are all full, there's kind of a line that starts forming off to the side. And so I said, hey, yeah, I'd love to give you the bench, but there's a line, and I'm trying to respect these guys over here. Those weren't my exact words. But I was communicating that I was trying to respect the people that had been waiting their turn for a bench as well, and that if he wanted one, that he should stand in line, and when one frees up and he's in the front, he can have one. So that didn't go exactly as I had hoped. I hoped that he would have understood, waited in line, took his bench. But instead, he kind of thought maybe I was trying to tell him that those people, like, I would rather give it to them than him. Maybe he didn't understand the way things work. And so he kind of rolled his eyes and stomped away. So for me, the best I could do in that situation was not to come back at him with any sort of other disrespect, kind of just brush it off, carry on with my workout. And at the same time, just try to understand where he's coming from. Like, maybe he's a freshman and didn't know how things are done at this gym. Maybe they were done differently at his gym. So in that situation, I was just forced to be more introspective than try to project anything onto him. In another situation, things kind of went a little more smoothly, a little differently. And this is not a one-on-one interaction like how most of the stories that we've been hearing have gone. In this case, it's actually a matter of putting your equipment back when you're done using it. It's a common problem a lot of people have where they'll use some equipment, they're done using it, they'll just drop it on the ground. Come over here, use some other equipment, drop it on the ground. Come over here, oh, where's the equipment? Someone else should have put it back, but they themselves weren't re-racking their weights, as it's known at the gym. And so the principle here is that nobody is so important that they should be cleaned up after by other people. Everybody has to do their part to maintain a safe, clean environment because everybody is entitled to the same clean environment that they also would like. So when people do this, and in general most people do adhere to that sort of guideline that you want to re-rack your weights, when people do that, things run very smoothly and everybody is happy, everybody is safe, things generally work really well. And so the takeaway there is that respect has other benefits than just making you feel good about yourself. It can literally be a logistical benefit where it makes things run efficiently and makes people feel better on top of that. So taking all the interactions of the past few days, running this experiment into consideration, I had one resounding message that really stuck with me, and that was that you really can't control what other people do, and at the end of the day, if they disrespect you, that's on them, and it says nothing about you. So the best you can do is to worry about yourself, do the best you can do to respect everybody else around you, and hope that they do the same. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Where are we? Here. Right.
Natalie.
Hi, Natalie.
I thought they did a good job, like, expressing what you were trying to say by, like, walking around. Like, when you did, for example, you walked over here versus, like, when you had another example, you walked over there and you spoke clearly and, like, seemed to know what you were talking about. So I thought it was great.
Thank you, Natalie. Ruben?
Tim.
Hi,
Yeah,
Tim.
I also thought you were pretty fun to watch. I liked you walking around. Maybe tone it down a little. You had one where you, like, kind of twisted. Besides that, that was really good.
Yeah. Well, people commented on your walking around, and I'll comment on that first. I'll say just generally I liked your speech and your presentation, and you did it extemporaneously, which was excellent. You immediately, the second you started speaking, got out of the power stance and moved the second you started speaking. So you'll see I immediately had to adjust the camera to the left instead of delivering your intro and your thesis right from the center of the stage and really setting the tone for things. So that's my comment to you. I'd like to see a little more purposeful movement with the bad, the good, what I learned, back to center. And when you come, after you move, come to the power stance and get in it. And you're just probably not aware your body is, and your feet are just moving a lot, all the time. You're aware of it, okay. Yeah. You're just a walker. What I didn't get so much from you, which I want to ask you about, was how the repeating the mantra worked so much. Well, for example, when you were bench pressing, I don't know if you were repeating the mantra as you were bench pressing, maybe, maybe not. But when somebody came to talk to you and said, "Hey, dude, can I have it when you're done?" That's the time to repeat the mantra before you say, "Dude, there's a line, get in the rear of it," or "no cutsies," which would be very rude without thinking of repeating the mantra. And repeating the mantra would then cause you to say something more diplomatic, like, "Gee, I wish I could, but those fellas have been waiting almost 15 minutes in that line there, so, sorry." And be kind of apologetic, see? So what I needed to hear more about from you was how you used the mantra and repeated it and how it gave you. Now I can see how the mantra has worked on you by causing you not to be a spoiled brat as many of the kids in the Wooden Center act like rich, spoiled brats. Well, we have workers that pick up my weight. So, you know, I'm the little prince. I'm the little princess. You know, you know, I throw stuff around, and we have workers because that's how it is at home. I have a maid. I have, you know, people that pick up after me. And you know, as you were rightly offended by this kind of behavior where people just drop stuff and go, oh, someone else will get it. I think that I believe the mantra is working on you at least to behave in a more, you know, respectful manner toward the gym and its process, and as you pointed out, it made for the gym to run more smoothly. Finally, I would say I needed to have you give me a preview, so I'm going to tell you about the bad, the good, and what I learned. And then I needed to, when you got to what I learned, to have it boomed out more with your voice. And then you said people are going to be what they are. You sort of were resigned to this. And I'm here to say that, and you'll see this from other people, that you can change that a little bit by repeating the mantra. And you will, because people have received good results from being respectful to people. They don't always react with shrug, whatever, and walk away. They, you know, sometimes respond positively, or in the cases of some people get a extra whipped cream or a free apple pie at McDonald's, and these things happen in better service, and that's not the reason to do it. The reason to do it is because it's the right thing. But positive things do happen because people are treated with respect like human beings, which is what everyone yearns for and desires. Okay? So what I'd say is you did a nice job. You have a very nice persona. You're a very likable speaker. Just work on the idea of the prompt, and you know, have a little bit more. You know, have the narrative come out a little bit better. Other than that, good job. Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay. We have another volunteer. Excellente. Thank you. Okay. I don't know if you've heard this, but we have a rule that if someone's speaking, we don't re-enter. We wait respectfully at the door till they're done speaking, and then you come in. And so you can wait at that back door until she's done. If I'm speaking, you can be rude to me, but if she's speaking, it's very distracting to have so many march in, especially the front door. Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, Olivia is in the power stance, feet a little wider, very good. Managing attention, looking around the room, making sure all phones are away, computers are closed. Yes, all eyeballs are on you, Olivia. Communicate, respect non-verbally. Say to yourself, I respect my audience. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name. Feel the love. Start your speech.
So hi, my name is Olivia.
Hi, Olivia.
So before I came to UCLA, I had a hard time making eye contact. I hated talking to people on the phone, and I avoided conversations with strangers. So what did I do when I got here? I started working for the Daily Burn as a reporter, where more than 50% of my job is talking to people on the phone that I don't know. Good times. I've been writing for the Daily Burn for over a year, or right around a year, and it's slowly gotten easier, the whole process of having a conversation with strangers and interacting in that sense. It's become something that I've taken for granted that I can do. But this week presented a challenge for me because I wanted to try and imbue all of my interviews that I was doing with nonverbal respect. I like to think that I respect my interviewees when I do my interviews, but I wanted to really focus on that and make sure that it really came through when I was talking. or rather not talking. Because if you do an interview right, there's plenty of time for nonverbal communication. That's hopefully the majority of the interview. So in particular, this past week, one experience stood out to me, one particular interview, because it encompassed the good, the bad, and the ugly of the experiment, and taught me something about myself that I didn't know. So on Friday of last week, I had to interview a DESMA professor from UCLA. The majority of my interviews, like about 90%, are conducted over the phone, but this one was going to happen in person. So already something that I wasn't used to, and I thought a good opportunity for me to convey the respect. Prior to the interview, I went online and did some research on the professor, because for me that's a form of respect, walking into an interview prepared, knowing about the background, and being able to ask informed questions. And as I did research, I found out that she was very much an advocate for diversity in the media and arts, which is something that I myself am passionate about. So that was a good starting point for me, because I already respected her and her field. So on that Friday, I walked to her house. The interview was in her apartment. She was incredibly nice. I was out of breath when I got there, but she was incredibly nice. She offered me a glass of water, and we sat down at her dining room table to conduct the interview. The first thing that I focused on during that interview was my body language. I wanted to make sure that I was sitting up straight, that I was looking her in the eye, and that I was maintaining attention. And that turned out to be a lot harder than I thought, which is kind of bad. I realized that I really had to keep that "I respect you" going through my head, that I really had to focus on, okay, make sure you're looking in her eyes, not down at your notes. But as the interview went on, it got easier. For me, the ugly part was when I looked down at my notes for a few seconds and came to a realization. When I do phone interviews, obviously the person I'm interviewing can't see me, so I can look down at my notes at whatever time. But during an in-person interview, maintaining that eye contact is really important, so that wasn't exactly something that I could do. So instead, I realized I was in my head trying to think about what my next question was going to be, trying to know what was going to be important for when I wrote the article. And I realized I wasn't really listening to what she was saying. And that's really so important in terms of respect. And it was a lack of respect in two regards. First, I wasn't respecting her and what she had to say, because it was almost like I was listening to TV without really watching it. It was in the background of my own thoughts. And secondly, I wasn't respecting myself and trusting my skills as an interviewer and as a human that has conversations. And I didn't trust my ability or respect my ability to hold a conversation. So after this point, I made it a point to listen to what she was saying, even if it meant that after she finished speaking, I would have to pause to recollect my thoughts and come up with a new question. After this point, the interview totally changed. It turned into a dialogue rather than a one-sided conversation, and I slowly start to feel more comfortable, and things progressed from there. After the interview officially finished, we actually had a conversation for 5 minutes afterwards, which is rare for me. And she commented specifically on how she appreciated my presence and my tone during the interview, and how respectful she felt I was being. And that was when I learned and realized that repeating that mantra, "I respect you," both to my person that I'm interviewing and myself, really has an impact.
Thank you. Time?
It was 4:22.
Perfect. Here, yes, sir.
Nolan.
Hi, Nolan.
I thought you spoke very well, like very clearly. You got your points across very well, and it's easy to understand.
Okay, good. Thank you. Improvement?
My name is Iris.
Hi, Iris.
Honestly, I wasn't really thinking about like the bad stuff about your speech because I was so like into it. Like the way you speak is so like calm and like it just makes me listen. So I don't think I was really like catching like the bad points. I think it was good. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Iris. Yeah. Olivia, yeah. Yeah. I like your speech a lot. Undo your hands. Don't pinch yourself in reassurance, because this is friendly suggestions and criticism to help you. You started with sort of a confession, and which I think was disarming for us, because we really liked you, because you told us that you hated to make eye contact and didn't like to talk to people, and then you got a job where that's what you had to do, and I thought that was actually a very effective thing to do to sort of, introduce the fact that you're a reporter and you write for the Daily Bruin, and that you centered this whole experiment around this interview with a professor. I hope that you're working this in other aspects of your life, with your editor, with other people, and you're having similar results. But in any case, this was a good focus of where you used it and showed us all the way through how it worked. I will tell you that having taught here 40 years, I've had a mixture of Daily Bruin reporters. Yeah.
I interviewed you last year.
Yeah, you interviewed me last year, and I must tell you, you interviewed me over a film that I co-wrote and about a debate team, and I commented to my chair how respectful you and the reporter were, and how much I appreciated that. I've had other reporters who have come in confrontational, well, what about this? What about this? And it's like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? And so that was a pleasant experience, and so I can tell you that it's an effective way to proceed. So I'm glad that you're mastering this. What I would say for improvement, despite Iris thinking you're perfect, is that I'd like to see your narrative jump out a little bit more orally. And so I'd like to hear you say, so let me just go to the good. And I researched her, I looked her up, and that was part of being respectful, is knowing where she's coming from, and I found out she was into diversity in the arts. And so that was the good part of me being respectful for the interview. But it wasn't always good. There was the bad. Blew with your voice, and then you told the bad story, and then the ugly, where you were getting kind of gummed up over getting in the way of yourself and not listening. But I'm really pleased that she said she appreciated how respectful you were. So she got the vibe. And that's the important thing we're learning to do, is give the vibe, and not just in speeches, but in our everyday work environment, and it will pay off. As you've discovered, people will be more open, they'll tell you more, they'll be more fruitful in what they produce for the interview. As for what I learned, yes, that was good. The summary and conclusion and tie back could have been a little bit more of a, so I've told you the good, the bad, the ugly, and so now I, want to tie back to this thing here about, now I don't, even though I started out being afraid to look people in the eye and talk to people, I found that this can be an important element, important skill in my toolbox of being a reporter. Something like that in the ending would have made it come the full circle. But really excellent job, Olivia. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Yay. Oh.